You know that feeling when you're trying to walk really fast, maybe rushing for a train, and you hit this point where it just feels weird, like your legs just have to break into a jog.
Oh, definitely. It feels almost impossible to keep walking that fast.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into that precise, invisible line, the exact moment you stop walking and start running.
Right. And it feels like it should be gradual, doesn't it? Like you just smoothly speed up. But the sources we looked at, they paint a very different picture.
Yeah, they really do.
It turns out the transition from walking to running is, well, it's actually a really abrupt biomechanical leap. It's not a smooth blend at all.
That's the really fascinating thing we want to unpack. Why is it so sudden? You know, for humans, horses, pretty much any animal that walks and runs, why does the body just suddenly say, nope, can't do this gait anymore? Often in a single step. We're digging into the physics, the energy, the actual mechanics behind why we make this switch.
Okay, so let's start with us, with humans. You might think it's all one continuous spectrum of movement, but biomechanically, walking and running are fundamentally different.
Completely different operating systems almost.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And the research is super clear. The switch happens, like you said, in basically a single step. It's marked by what scientists call a distinct speed jump.
And the absolute defining feature, the thing that flips the switch, is the introduction of the flight phase.
Exactly. When you're walking, one foot is always on the ground. Always.
Supporting your weight.
But the instant you introduce even a tiny moment where both feet are off the ground at the same time, boom!
Or flying, technically.
You are, even for a split second. And the physics of how you move completely changes. You stop being a walker, biomechanically speaking, and you become a runner. That flight phase is the non-negotiable difference.
And there's even a pretty specific speed where this tends to happen for most adults, isn't there? The preferred transition speed.
That's it, the PTS. And yeah, it averages around 2.0 meters per second.
Which is about, what, 4.5 miles per hour? Or 7.2 kilometers per hour.
Exactly. Right around that speed where, like you said, that super fast walk just starts to feel clumsy and inefficient. Your body basically forces the switch.
Okay, but here's where it gets really counterintuitive based on the sources. The energy side of things.
Yes, the energy paradox. This is fascinating.
For ages, everyone just assumed we switched gaits to save energy, right? Like walking at 4.5 mile per hour must just be too tiring, so running becomes cheaper.
That was the logical assumption, absolutely. Minimize metabolic cost. Makes sense.
But the data, it showed something else entirely.
It really did. When they actually measured the energy people burn, right at that moment of transition, switching from walking to running at the PTS actually makes your energy expenditure go up initially.
Wait, hang on. It increases. So your body deliberately chooses a more energy-expensive way to move at that specific speed.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? It totally contradicts that simple idea of just picking the cheapest option second by second.
So, why? Why do it if it costs more right then?
Well, the answer seems to be it's not about immediate energy savings. It's about hitting a mechanical wall, a hard physical limit.
Okay, so it's a constraint thing, not an efficiency choice, at least not at first.
Precisely. As your walking speed creeps up towards that PTS, the muscles in your lower legs, specifically the plantar flexors, the ones you use to push off.
Your calf muscles, basically.
Yeah, those powerful ones. They become less and less effective at generating the push you need while maintaining a walking gait. They kind of hit their limit for that specific type of movement.
Okay. I can almost feel it. Like when you're power walking, your calves feel strained, and it's hard to get that forward push.
Exactly. You feel stiff, awkward, you're struggling. The body's essentially signaling, warning, system overload, need to reboot mechanics.
And that reboot is the switch to running.
Right. And it involves a complete change in how your body manages energy dynamically. Walking uses what's called inverted pendulum mechanics.
Like vaulting over a stiff leg.
Perfect analogy. Or think of a rocking chair. Your kinetic energy, your speed, and your potential energy, your height, are out of phase. As you go up, you slow down. As you come down, you speed up. It's very efficient for conserving energy at slower speeds.
Okay, makes sense.
But running throws that out the window. Abruptly.
And switches to?
It switches to a spring mass system. Think of bouncing on a pogo stick.
Ah, okay.
Now, your kinetic and potential energy are in phase. You compress your tendons and muscles, like loading a spring, especially the Achilles tendons store elastic energy, and then release it to launch yourself up into that flight phase.
So you lose the efficient pendulum thing,
You do.
but you gain this bouncy, springy mechanism that can handle higher forces and speeds.
Exactly. That fundamental shift from the rocking chair to the pogo stick is what forces the transition to be so abrupt, even if that initial pogo stick bounce costs a bit more energy right at the start.
Because the old system just couldn't cope anymore.
It couldn't. The new system is necessary to keep going faster. Function trumps immediate cost.
And this isn't just a human thing, is it? The sources mention horses show the same kind of abrupt switch.
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating how consistent this is. If you look at horses moving from a walk to a trot or canter, it's the same biomechanical principle.
So the horse's walk is like our walk, the inverted pendulum.
Yep. 4 beats, no suspension phase where all feet are off the ground. It's optimized for low speed, high efficiency, pendulum mechanics.
And then the trot, the canter, the gallop.
They all involve a moment of suspension. All 4 feet leave the ground, and bang! They've switched to spring-like mechanics, just like us when we run. That flight phase is the universal dividing line.
Okay, but here's something that confused me a bit from the sources, talking about horse training. Riders talk about aiming for a smooth transition.
Yeah, that's a common point of confusion.
It sounds like they're trying to blend the gaits, make it less abrupt.
Right, but smooth, in equestrian terms, doesn't mean physiologically gradual. It means the horse responds instantly to the cue, stays balanced, maintains rhythm, doesn't, stumble or resist.
So it's about control and responsiveness, not changing the underlying physics.
Exactly. The physics demands an immediate change in how the limbs coordinate. You can't gradually introduce a flight phase. It's either there or it isn't.
Okay.
And actually, get this, the studies mentioned show that really well-trained dressage horses, they execute that shift in limb coordination more abruptly, more sharply than less experienced horses.
Really? More abrupt?
Yeah. Because they're so finely tuned, they can make that fundamental mechanical switch almost instantaneously. It looks seamless to us because it's so fast and controlled, but the underlying physiological change is actually sharper.
Wow. So the appearance of smoothness comes from the speed and precision of an inherently abrupt change.
You got it. It beautifully reinforces that the mechanical reboot for speed just cannot be a gradual fade.
Okay, so the switch itself is sudden, non-negotiable across species. But let's shift gears slightly. What about overall efficiency, say, over a longer distance? We know walking is efficient low down, but is running ever the more efficient choice?
Good question. This brings us from the preferred transition speed, the PTS, to what's called the crossover speed.
Okay, another speed point.
Yeah, so for just covering distance, walking at a nice, easy pace is definitely the most energy efficient thing you can do. Way cheaper than running.
Makes sense.
But if you insist on going faster, if you keep pushing your walking speed up and up, eventually you hit this crossover point where, energetically speaking, running actually becomes the less expensive option for that specific speed.
Interesting. And where does that crossover happen for us humans?
It's typically around 5 miles per hour or 8 kilometers per hour.
So faster than the PTS where we feel we have to switch.
Right. The PTS is about mechanical limits, kicking in around 4.5 mile per hour. The crossover speed is purely about energy cost, and that happens a bit faster, around 5 mile per hour. Once you're trying to sustain faster than 5 mile per hour, fighting the mechanics of walking costs so much energy that it's actually cheaper to just give in and run using the spring mechanism.
Ah, okay. That explains why elite race walkers look like they're working so incredibly hard. They're fighting to maintain that walking gait, no flight phase, way past the point where running would actually be less metabolically taxing for that speed. They're battling both the mechanical and energetic ceilings of walking.
You nailed it. Running is inherently more demanding overall because you're constantly launching yourself upwards, but it's built for speed in a way walking just isn't. The calorie numbers really show this.
Yeah, the sources had some pretty stark figures. Running burns significantly more calories per mile than walking at comfortable paces, right?
Yeah.
Something like 30–50% more.
That's about right. Let's make it concrete. Think about it, say, a 160-pound person. If they walk at a comfortable 3.5 mile per hour for half an hour, they'll burn maybe 150, 160 calories.
Okay.
But if that same person runs at 6 miles per hour, which is faster, obviously, but a common jogging pace for the same 30 minutes, they're burning more like 350, 360 calories.
Wow, more than double the calories burned in the same amount of time.
Yep. Because of all that extra work, lifting your body weight off the ground with every single step, fighting gravity costs energy.
But there was that one weird exception the sources mentioned, something about steep hills.
Ah, yes, the incline effect. This is a great illustration of how the environment changes the equation. On really steep slopes, we're talking like 15% grade or more.
That's pretty steep.
It is. On those kinds of hills, walking can actually become the more efficient way to move again, even if you're going at a speed where running would normally be cheaper on the flat.
How does that work? Why does running lose its edge there?
It's all about that spring mechanism. Running on flat ground gets a lot of its relative efficiency from the stretch shortening cycle, that elastic energy stored and returned in your tendons, especially the Achilles.
The bounce.
The bounce, exactly. But when you're trudging up a really steep hill, your foot plants differently. Much earlier in the stride cycle, the forces are different. You don't get that same optimal compression and rebound of the tendons.
You lose the pogo stick effect.
Pretty much. The ankle doesn't really extend and recoil in the same way, so running loses its key mechanical advantage. In that specific steep slope scenario, the steady, deliberate, stiff-legged progression of walking the old inverted pendulum actually becomes the better energy manager again.
Fascinating. So the best gait depends totally on the speed and the terrain.
Absolutely. Physics rules all.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together now, the mechanical limits, the energy paradox, the crossover speed, the hills, it seems to boil down to one big universal idea for basically all land animals.
And that's what we can call the fundamental cost of flight.
The cost of being airborne.
Exactly. The core rule, whether you're a human, a bird on the ground, a horse, a dog, a cheetah, whatever, running is defined by having a flight phase and the constant work you have to do against gravity to lift your entire body mass off the ground every single stride. That's what makes running inherently more energetically expensive per unit of distance than walking is. We talk about the net cost of transport.
So even though animals switch to running because walking gets too inefficient or mechanically impossible at higher speeds, the absolute cheapest way to cover ground, energetically speaking, is always going to be walking at a relatively slow, optimal pace.
Always. Speed has a definite energy price, and that price is paid primarily through the cost of flight.
And it's not just the lifting energy, is it? There's also the impact.
Oh yeah, big time. When you're in that flight phase and you come back down, the force hitting the ground reaction force is way higher than in walking. It can be 2, 3, even 4 times your body weight, depending on speed and species.
Oof.
Yeah. And managing that impact, absorbing that shock, stabilizing your joints, that takes a lot more muscular work too, on top of the energy just to push off again.
The horse example really drives this home too. The source mentioned a horse trotting uses something like 2.3 times the energy per minute compared to walking.
Exactly. It's a massive jump in cost, directly linked to introducing that suspension phase. Trotting, cantering, galloping, they let the horse go faster, but the energy bill skyrockets.
So the final synthesis seems to be, locomotion is all about managing energy, but it's constrained by hard physics.
That's the essence of it. It's a trade-off. You want speed, you pay the cost of flight. Your body makes an abrupt switch when the old mechanics fail, obeying millions of years of biomechanical evolution.
So next time you find yourself breaking into a run to catch that bus or beat a traffic light, you're not just making a choice, you're following a deep, fundamental, biological imperative dictated by physics and mechanics.
Beautifully put. It's this intricate dance between energy cost and mechanical possibility. We also saw that things like body size affect the absolute speed where transitions happen. A pony switches sooner than a huge draft horse.
Right, but the underlying mechanical reason stays the same.
Exactly, the principal scale. So here's a final thought for you to chew on, building on that idea of scale. Think about the really huge land animals like elephants. Given everything we've discussed about the cost of lifting body mass against gravity in a flight phase, how much more astronomically difficult, energetically speaking, must it be for an animal with that immense mass to achieve and sustain any kind of running gait that involves getting fully airborne compared to a gazelle or even a horse?
Wow. Yeah, the energy needed to repeatedly launch tons of weight off the ground.
Exactly. Consider the interplay between that huge body mass and the sheer energetic hurdle of fighting gravity with every stride. What does that imply about how they solve the problem of moving quickly? That's a whole other level of biomechanical challenge.